If you have $1 million saved for retirement, here is something most people never think about. At 73, the IRS forces you to pull out almost 38 grand from that account. By 80, nearly 50, and by 85, over 62,000 every year, taxed as ordinary income, whether you need it or not. Most people don't see this coming until it's too late to do much about it, and that's the topic we're going to cover today on the Howdy Neighbor Retirement Show.
It's the Howdy Neighbor Retirement Show.
Howdy Neighbor, I'm Michael Andrews with Andrews Insurance and Advisory, and you're listening to the Howdy Neighbor Retirement Show. And today is going to be a full-blown Michael tutorial on required minimum distributions, what they are, what the actual numbers look like on $1 million account, and what you can do before the IRS starts making those decisions for you. So here's the setup for today. When you saved in a traditional IRA or 401k, you skipped the tax up front. The IRS always planned to collect that, and at age 73, they require you to withdraw a set amount every year based on your balance and life expectancy factor from their published tables. The older you get, the higher the required minimum withdrawal. On $1 million, the numbers look like this. At 73, you must take out a little over $37,000. At 75, over 40. At 80, over 49. And at 85, more than $62,000 in a single year. And if your account has grown in the meantime, those numbers are even larger. So a quick question for you. Do you have more than $300,000 in a traditional IRA or 401k right now? If so, the math we just walked through applies directly to you, and the decisions you make in the next few years will determine how much of that balance you get to keep. And it's not just the withdrawal itself. RMD income stacks on top of Social Security, pension, and literally everything else. All taxed as ordinary income. A large enough RMD can push you into a higher tax bracket, make more of your Social Security taxable, and trip an IRA threshold that raises your Medicare premiums. Once forced withdrawal, these three tax problems become a big deal. So here's something that I hear often. Michael, my accountant handles my taxes, and that is fine. But your accountant files what already has happened. RMD planning has to happen before 73, not after. Once the distribution starts, your options narrow fast. The Roth conversion window, the early withdrawal window, they all close. Waiting is not neutral. Every year you wait is a year of planning that you cannot get back. So are you within 10 years of age 73? Because if you are inside the window that actually matters. The strategies available at 63 are not available at 72. Time is the resource that runs out first. In my work with pre-retirees and retirees, I see this constantly. People who saved well into retirement and realize that nobody ever walked them through the distribution side. Saving and accumulating is half the battle, but withdrawing without handing an unnecessary chunk to the IRS is the other half. 3 tools worth knowing though. First, Roth conversions. A Roth has no required minimum distributions. Convert some of your traditional IRA before 73 and you shrink the balance that the IRS can force you to withdraw later. That money grows and comes out completely tax-free. Secondly, intentional early withdrawals. Pull modest amounts from your IRA before 73 on your terms. You will pay tax on it eventually either way. The question is whether you control the rate and whether you control the timing. Third is something called a qualified charitable distribution. In 2026, you can direct up to $111,000 from your IRA straight to a qualified charity. This satisfies your RMD, but it does not count as taxable income. If you already plan to give, this is a hard one for you to pass up. Knowing just these 3 strategies exist is the easy part. Which one fits your situation depends on 5 things. Your current bracket versus your expected bracket at 73. When you plan to start Social Security, because that changes your income picture. Whether you're near an IRA threshold and that a conversion could potentially push you over that, whether charitable giving is part of your plan, and how many years you have before distribution begins. Change any one of those and the right answer, it changes along with it. Do you expect Social Security income in retirement? Because Social Security plus forced RMDs is exactly what drives people into higher brackets and higher Medicare costs than they ever planned for. Here's what the difference looks like. Two people, similar savings at 63. The first does modest Roth conversions early and arrives at 73 with a smaller taxable balance, when those RMDs are much more manageable. Medicare premiums are on a hold, and a chunk of their money is in a Roth growing completely tax-free. The second person waited. By the time 73 rolled around, their account had grown to over $1 million. First RMD crossed an IRA line. Medicare jumped, more Social Security became taxable, and this occurs every year after because the distributions continue to grow. Same starting point, but very different retirements. The difference in all of this was just planning. The next step is what I call a retirement tax stress test. We map your projected RMDs based on where your accounts are today, identify which bracket those distributions land in, and determine whether Roth conversions, early withdrawals, or QCDs, or some combination fit your timeline and your income picture. You leave with a clear view of what the IRS is coming for and a concrete plan on what to do about it. So today we covered what RMDs are, why the amount that they grow each year, and why they can trigger a tax chain reaction if you're not ready for them. We walked through 3 strategies, why the right one depends on your bracket, Social Security timing, Medicare exposure, and charitable goals, and why waiting until 73 leaves you with far fewer options than if you started right now. If you are within 10 years of 73, or if you have $300,000 or more in traditional retirement accounts, I want to invite you to that retirement tax stress test. Bring a recent account statement, your income sources, and your last tax return. I will show you what your projected RMD picture is, where that bracket risk is, where your Medicare exposure is, and which strategies fit your situation. You'll leave with a real plan of action. You can always call or text me at 918-842-7379, or you can head on over to Andrew's ADV and book a time on my work calendar. It doesn't cost anything for me to take a look, but not letting me, man, this one could really cost you thousands. So if you've got a question for the show, email me at michael@andrewsadv.com. I read every one of them. If you would, subscribe on YouTube and Facebook so you don't miss next week's episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on the Howdy Neighbor Retirement Show. Thanks.
It's the Howdy Neighbor Retirement Show, helping you plan so your money will grow.